Welcome back, everyone, to Fireside Sports. I'm Kendall Caps.
And I'm Andrew Williams.
All right, Andrew, here we are. It's March Madness. The brackets have finally been released.
That time of year, get your office pools ready, get your betting money out. Let's fill out our brackets.
Yeah,
let's go.
Yeah, it's amazing how it catches like wildfire. A couple hours after the brackets were released, there was over 700,000 brackets filled out already on ESPN.
I think 350,000 of them were mine. So I'm hoping one of them I can get at least a Final Four team in this.
Yeah, well, let's see how it goes. I mean, this year there was a different format. They expanded the field. They went to 68 teams instead of the 65 last year, hoping to maybe alleviate some of the problems of teams feeling they didn't get in.
Instead, you have almost more gripes this year than any year before. You've got teams like UAB and VCU in the tournament who no one expected to even be in the conversation to be in the tournament. And then you've got really good teams that...
Well, like Colorado, the Colorado Buffaloes, they were not even considered to be a bubble team. Most people had already counted them. They were in the field. It was shocking to me to see that their name was not called. They had cameras there ready just to show them explode, and they never got. It was a very strange situation. I mean, you look at what they did, their body of work. They beat Kansas State 3 times, a 5 seed in the tournament. They beat Texas, a 4 seed in the tournament. They beat Missouri earlier in the year when they were doing well. I mean, they have some really quality wins, whereas a team like UAB's best win is against VCU. I mean,
and VCU doesn't have any good wins.
Really,
I don't believe.
wins.
Well, that's enough with our griping about this year's tournament. Let's start with our brackets. Who do you like? Which bracket do you like? Which division seems the strongest right now?
You know, the East, if you look at that East bracket, and you have Ohio State at the top, Syracuse is in there, North Carolina's in there, Kentucky's in there. There's a lot of really good teams. West Virginia is a really solid basketball team. I mean, that's one bracket where it's going to be hard for some of the higher seeds to beat some of these lower seeds early in the early rounds. And because of that, I like a lot of chalk. I got Kansas I got Ohio State moving on, coming out of that bracket. I think Syracuse makes it to the Elite Eight. They have some good young depth. Brandon Trish is playing really well right now, heading into this tournament. But I don't think it'll be enough. I think Ohio State and chalk prevails in that bracket. How about you?
I'm with you. I like Ohio State there. I've got Ohio State, Kentucky, Syracuse, North Carolina in the Elite Eight, and Ohio State coming out. But how about in the West? We've got, Duke's bracket, big favorite here. You got last year's defending champs, and a lot of people think they can.
Well, it's about time Duke got shipped out west. Their regional finals are going to be out west. They're not going to be playing back at home where they have been in recent years. It's going to make it a little bit more difficult for them. But they have almost the same team coming back from last year. Yes, they lost their they lost their freshman in the beginning of the year, but they've been able to overcome that over the last couple months, being able to play without him. I expect them to do the same in this bracket and find a way. Arizona's a team that could make a little bit of noise. I think they're going to have a second-round upset and beat Texas possibly. I like them to win that game, but against Duke, they have too much depth and too much experience, and I think they find their way back to the Final Four to play Ohio State.
Well, I'll tell you, my sleeper in the Western bracket, I'm going to take Oakland to upset Texas, and I think to upset Arizona in the next round. I think they're a good team. They've got really good guard play. They've got an NBA-level center, and I think they can really come out there and surprise Texas with some of their play and maybe make a run here, be one of those teams that we don't see coming.
Well, another team that might be able to make a little run, I think, is Missouri. They've lost some steam as the year's gone along. They haven't played well as of late, but when they get on a roll, they score over 81 points a game. When they get guys hot, they can make a run, and I think they might be able to make a run to the Elite Eight.
They can pretty much outscore anybody on any given night.
Yeah, when they play well. All right, how about on the other half of the brackets? In the Southeast, we got Pittsburgh with what most people would probably consider to be the weakest of the brackets.
Yeah, and this bracket I think was the hardest for me to decide because there's a lot of upsets, there's a lot of things that you can see happening, but I really like St. John's. I know they've got a key injury in there.
DJ Kennedy getting hurt.
The way they're playing, they're coming from the Big East. They've played all these big teams. They've beat some of the biggest teams in the country, and I think I'm going to take St. John's to pull an upset bid and come out of the South.
Wow, see, okay, I like St. John's to win a couple games. I think they run into a hot Florida team. They might have lost to Kentucky, but their body of work, they've beaten some really good teams, and they can play down the stretch. They have a bunch of good guards and one big in Parsons down low who's versatile, who can finish with both hands. I think Florida makes their way to the Elite Eight, but they actually get stopped by Kansas State. I think Kansas State is going to beat Pittsburgh in the Sweet 16. They have a lot of guys like Samardo Samuels that have been there before. They made it to the Elite Eight last year. I think this year Kansas State goes to the Final Four.
Okay, well, another upset pick I like in here is Butler. Butler, who went to the national title game this year, they got the 8th seed in that second game. If they win, they can be playing a Pitt team who I think is known for giving up when they shouldn't and losing games in the tournament that they have no business losing. You might look for Butler to make a little more noise this year as well.
All right, well, down in the Southwest bracket, the the Texas A&M Aggies, who I think have a lot of depth and they have a lot of scoring ability. They're a rebounding team. They could make some noise early in the round, but they're going to run into a tough Notre Dame team that has a great body of work. You could argue they could have been a #1 seed. They get the 2 in the Southwest. What do you think of their chances?
This is a hard bracket to go through. I really like Notre Dame, but they also Purdue's right there, and they're going to have to play against a tough Purdue team.
Yeah.
And then you've got Kansas, who's my #1 overall pick, looming at the top of this bracket for the winner down there. But I'll tell you who I really like is I like Richmond, the Richmond Spiders, to beat Vanderbilt in the first round, maybe even win another game after that, but that's one of my favorite upset picks. They have some big wins this year. Their body of work is really impressive. I really thought they might have been able to snag a 10 seed maybe, but they're there at 12. I think they could be one to watch out.
They very well could. I have them winning that first round game as well. I think Kansas ultimately comes out of this region to play Kansas State in a Big 12 Final Four, but I think they're going to have some problems with Purdue. I do like Purdue, like you mentioned. Juwan Johnson and each one more, 2 guys with experience. They can score, they can defend. Yes, they've struggled a bit as of late, but if they can turn things on as well, I expect them to be able to at least push some teams around and go deep in the tournament.
Well, and I'm going to take Notre Dame to beat Purdue, and then Kansas to beat Notre Dame to then go to the Final Four again.
Okay, well now we're in the Final Four. I have Ohio State playing Duke over on one half of the bracket, and Kansas State playing Kansas.
I also have Ohio State playing Duke, so let's start there. I'm going to take Duke to beat Ohio State, return to the national championship game. We'll talk about what happens there in a minute, but I think this Duke team is angry. I think they want to come back. They've all been there before. It's the same team as last year. I think they're going to go back.
You know, they're a great basketball team. It's going to be hard for someone to take them out, but I do like Ohio State. I think they're the most balanced team and maybe the best all-around team in college basketball. They've had a really good team for a few years now. They've been getting closer and closer to finally winning one. I think they're going to get in the title game and maybe win this one this year.
Well, how about the other half where you have Kansas playing Kansas State, and I got Kansas playing St. John's? Who are you taking there?
I like Kansas. Kansas State beat Kansas soundly not too long ago. It's not going to happen again. Kansas is a better overall team. They're going to find their way into that title game for a great final with Kansas and Ohio State.
I'm going to take Kansas as well. I think that'd be just as good of a final. I'll take Kansas Duke and watch them duke it out. I'm going to take Kansas. I'm going to take Kansas to beat Duke in the final. And
I got Ohio State beating Kansas. So we both have them there, but we have a different outcome. Well, hopefully your brackets will be better than ours. Hopefully ours, for us, will be better than anybody's. But the odds on that happening are probably pretty slim. All right, well, and for Andrew Williamson, I'm Kendall Caps. Hope to see you again next week on Fireside Sports.